Yeah, greetings to the world. Yeah, prison life matters. Ex-convict speaking. Up and working as usual. Yeah, my Jamaican people. Youth and youth, stay far from prison, I beg you. Prison, I don't know if nobody want to go. The worst place on earth, live in hell, nastiest place. You go down there, you smell man shit and fart every day. Bathroom nasty, food tasteless, everything messed up down there. Poor conditions, cockroach bite you, chink, rat, everything. So, you to live up, wise up. Life is love, love is life. Live, share, care. As me I say, do the right thing. Or if a man down there suffer. No if a man, nobody no member them. Them last in the system. No human rights, no public defender, no government, no family, no relatives. Them last and forgotten. No joking. So me a go to the real thing. Stay far from prison youth and youth. Stay far from crime and criminality. Live up. As me I say, pre-entrepreneurship. Do no one business. As me I say, be creative. Think out of the box. Try help yourself and your family. Society and prison life matters.
Coming up in all angles, lost in the prison system once again. Shock and horror at the Noel Chambers case.
His body was covered with vermin bites, and there were live bed bugs, popularly called in Jamaica chink, all over his body.
Statements, calls, and promises coming in.
What the public can be assured of is that where there is accountability, it will be had.
Could this be the change we've needed for years? Thank you so much for joining us once again for another edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson Miller, and as always, a very special welcome to our viewers on onespotmedia.com. Now, those bites you saw in the introduction, we've been hearing from all kinds of people over the past week about the death of Mr. Noel Chambers. We've heard from Indicom. You saw there the Commissioner of Indicom, Terence Williams. We've heard from the lawyers. We've heard from the human rights advocates. We've heard from John and Jane Public. Everybody has been weighing in. Today on All Angles, we wanted to hear from people who know the system from the inside out. Hear their accounts of what it's really like and why it is that this call for reform is so important. Joining me in the program, I have Howard Davis and Lascelles Neal. They're both former inmates of the Tower Street Adult Correctional Center. Gentlemen, we really appreciate you coming in. Thank you both so very much. Mr. Neal, let me start with you. Just tell us briefly first how long you were at Tower Street and what for.
Yeah, I was at the Tower Street facility since 1999 up to 2013, which I was get transferred from there to the St. Catherine District Prison and finish off the rest.
All right, what about you, Mr. Davis?
Yeah, I was charged for murder, sentenced to 20 years, served 7 years and 10 months, released on parole on the 17th of June, 2017.
Mr. Neal, you had also been charged with murder. That was also your charge?
Yeah, non-capital murder charge.
All right. So both of them, you would say you know the system from the inside, as I was saying?
Most definitely.
Balance.
Let me start out with Mr. Chambers. You've all been hearing about the death of Mr. Chambers over the past week, and a lot of people have been, shocked and how could this happen and so on. Mr. Neal, you ever came across him?
Yeah, I know him for years. Even when I just get convicted and down there for 1999, as I see him, he's used to sweep up the yard inside of Tower Street. I'm located on a section with them called, where the tuck shop is, them call a special location for a certain type of inmate. You understand me? Where them try to condemn in our way, other prisoner. But anyway, when I was just be convicted down there, I always stay on my section and see him come off a film section doing some sweeping work. That's what me know. I always see him do. And I think him not really tall, I'm not really short. Him left on a good height. And him kind of look a bit light skin. And I think him a ras.
Yes.
Understand me? Him a ras and him grew up. Yeah, but him look firm them time there, when time I see him. But I just
You say firm, you mean healthy?
Healthy, yeah, him look healthy to me. Him always sweep up the yard and those things every day. Where they and the prison authority.
You ever hear him talk or anything?
Yeah, him give himself, him not give himself trouble. Him always humble and do him necessary work or duty inside there by sweeping up the prison here and those things.
What about you, Mr. Davis? You ever come again cross him?
Well, see him, you know, but because of the stigmatization surrounding the prison, because as I say, you have rules and regulation, both by the officers and both by the inmates. He said that he's located over by a special location.
What is that?
Special location is where people that are most likely, they call them grounds as are probably homosexual in court. So you don't mix the homosexuals with the general population. So they would have a section for themselves. So you'd call over there special or boys town. So that is where he's located. But we see him in the yard balancing, and sometimes when him going to hospital, you would see him. But we don't interact that much because I locate in population and he's located over by special.
Okay. So this, how much would you know about this phrase that people call detained at the court's pleasure, detained at the Governor General pleasure?
All right, it's a nice question I asked a while ago, because at the end of the day, it's part of a system whereas in it's not fit to play. They would say my brother who was charged for licking out a glass, but wasn't convicted nor tried, was placed in the same situation.
Meaning your real brother? My
real brother. When I was in the prison, I saw him run by the hospital, Mr. There's an officer who is the orderly around by the hospital in the prison. Came to me the day and said that a man on your side is a brother, you know. But I wasn't paying attention in mind because I know my brother is a troublemaker. But when I go around there and my brother called to me, I didn't recognize him because I'm facing under this bush. You understand me? I can't get to see him. But when I look good behind the bush, I say, I start tears and I say, Spence, what you do around here? And I say, I'm looking out a 1970-something, one of them Aston Cambridge car glass. So anyway, we'll get to the bottom of it and find out. But for me, it was very hurting to know that he wasn't even charged. He wasn't even convicted or tried in the same place where I did something wrong to came there.
That felt wrong to you?
Yeah, that felt wrong to me because I don't know him as not a negative person. No, on the other hand, when I talk about mental patient or persons which are deemed unfit to plea, I think that they have to have a special care for those persons for even to get back fit to plea. No, the institution does not provide that subtle comfort for anyone to even be rehabilitated within the mental state of mind, to even go back into the court to be pleading.
I'm going to come back to that in just a moment, but Mr. Neil, this idea of people being held at pleasure, you ever come across any of those inmates? Or hear that somebody hasn't been to court because they're being held at the court's pleasure?
Governor General pledge?
Yes.
Yeah, a few of them. Some of them locate on section named pre-release. But some of them, they tell lie. Some of them love to tell lie and talk about them get timing, but not so. But the general pleasure allege. You have to fight your case, you know, and write the Governor General, you know, as much as often as can, you know.
So would you have people in there? So we heard Mr. Chambers was in there for 40 years. We heard today of 2 other men who have been in there for 50 years. You know of men who would have been in there for years at pleasure?
Yeah. Well, a couple of them me hear about. Understand me? But I can't really remember who is it, but me hear about a couple of them.
Yeah, I see you nod your head same time, Mr. Davis.
Yeah, because we usually go into the George Davis building where most of the mental persons are located in the prison, GDC. We go around there to work and we speak to a man named Donkey Man, who I think he's around there for 50 odd years, but those days was about 40. So we would ask him what is inside there for, and he'd tell us that, you know, just take him up off of the road and carry him come around there. So we and him would have a jovial argument about it, but we were not understanding about his situation directly. Now that it come to light now, I really look and I say some of them on the last of the system from them time until now. You understand? And as I was saying, if I wasn't around there to assist my brother, probably he would still last in the system.
Your brother, first of all, tell us what happened with him. I mean, how did what ended up with his story?
Okay. All right, my mother came to visit me because she didn't know that he was in the general penitentiary. So he was taken off the road, brought to general penitentiary without my mother's knowledge. So it was I who found him there. So
if it hadn't been for you,
yes, she
family would never have
even
known
know that he was around there because she had no idea. He was dirty. He was in a state. That's the mental state he was in. Tell me that the system needs to be rearranged, you know, because when I look at my brother, the man dirty. And remember, you know, even the system's supposed to have somebody as an orderly, and the officer then that they call, and say, right, oh, this man here looks so. Well, go on, him not look too right, you know.
This was about when?
This around 2014 there and about 2015.
So recently?
Yeah, man, recently me I tell you about, man. But as me say, I say, me need that the government need to have somewhere being owned which facilitates the needs of mental persons who get themselves into problem, whether being accused or commit themselves then, so that they don't mingle around there with us, because sometimes, as I said, them need physical recreation to come back out of that mental state that they are in to even go to the court to plea.
No, so you what is when your mother came to look for you?
Yeah, that's when on the
and
visit.
You said to her, hey.
Yeah, Spence round here, you know. And I start relate to her and she start crying to her in the visiting box and ask me, oh, and I start share with her. No, remember I'm telling me that is a lady up by Red Hills Road, him lick out the car glass where we were living on by Penn Terrace. So my mother end up go back around there, go check the lady, talk to the lady say $11,000 for the glass. So we end up, after we had balance it out and sit with that and him go to court, like I give him my best suit for come out of the prison. Like the day when I come out, I didn't know say I come out because I feel the energy. And mom come back and visit me and share with me, say, watch her. The lady said she don't really want to go on a court, there's a compensation for her husband glass. And I saw him get to come out. But if me never did then I feel like say the same thing would have happened to him because nobody never would have known where I'm there.
Hold that thought for me. We're going to break. When we come back, we'll continue. We're talking to two former inmates. They're giving us their perspectives on this idea of prison reform and the changes that are needed. Remember, our hashtag is TBJ All Angles. Soon come.
So I encourage people, if you miss it, catch the repeat.
Yep.
Because this morning we're at 50 years in prison.
This is after
without trial.
Someone died in prison after 40 years.
Yeah.
And now we see 50 years. Mm-hmm. He was arrested in 1970. Mm-hmm. No. His last court appearance would have been 1972.
And he has never been back to court. 1972
years. Was his last. He was arrested December 29, 1970 for the murder of Ian Laurie, July 21 that year.
Charged with malicious destruction of a motor car owned by Laurie's father and wounding with intent to do grievous bodily harm for attacking the victim's mother.
He was declared fit to plead, but has not been to court in 48 years.
Yeah.
Whew. Boy.
So there's a challenge for me because I think we know, and listen, let's not fool ourselves. 50 years ago, we probably never had the facility for it. But now it's 2020. We have to know if somebody is deemed mentally unfit, there must be a place for the mentally unfit to be incarcerated, which is different from people who are deemed to be mentally okay.
Yep.
Because part of the discussion last night, Neville, was, and these are two people who have been released, was that the mentally ill in the prisons are vulnerable. They take advantage of them in every single way.
Yeah.
So.
Well, when I saw Mr. Chambers' body, I'm actually sorry I looked at it. I broke down. I've never seen anything like that. But listen to this. There's a report compiled by the Department of Correctional Services, and it shows that a total of 146 mentally ill persons deemed unfit to plead are currently being held. And when they say the Governor General's pleasure, that's what it means, that you're not fit to plead, or I think if you're a youth or something like that, that's what they mean when it says that they are in jail at the Governor General's pleasure. Yeah. So they're really just sitting in jail, just there. 146 mentally ill person deemed unfit, and Delia is right. They should be somewhere and looked after, but not in jail, not in just a
regular prison population, because mental wellness as well. Yep. This might be something that they can get treatment for.
Yep.
Or you know what I'm saying? And if somebody mentally not well, you know, their actions are it's not rational.
And then we're going to have more. Daily will do that interview at 7 o'clock, so we'll have more on that.
50 years?
Yeah.
50 years, and you have been to prison.
Last time the man got court, me was 20. And he's 120, I know.
Just sitting in a prison?
Crazy.
Welcome back to Primetime News, and a special welcome once again to our viewers on onespotmedia.com. Up first this evening, a human rights group has revealed that 2 more persons have been behind bars for decades without trial. One man has been in prison for 50 years. The revelation was made today by Stand Up for Jamaica, which has secured the services of an attorney. Andrea Chisholm reports.
One of the inmates is a 70-year-old man who was charged for murder on October 28, 1970, when he was 20 years old. He has been behind bars ever since, for a total of 50 years. The inmate has been held at the Governor General's pleasure since 1972. Stand Up for Jamaica says the inmate is not receiving treatment, is not scheduled for court, nor is he being assessed for his fitness to plead. And there's more. A second inmate was deemed unfit to plead twice by the courts. One such occasion was in 1976. The inmate was charged for 2 counts of murder and is currently 61 years old. Stand Up for Jamaica has therefore retained the services of human rights attorney Isat Buchanan.
The way forward certainly is to ask the DPP to indicate whether she's in a position to proceed with their matters in terms of the viability of prosecution given the passage of time. And she does have powers, wide powers under the Constitution, certainly to offer no evidence or to enter nolle prosecute, but several things can be done.
The group has welcomed the establishment of a mental health task force by Chief Justice Brian Sykes and requested that the 2 cases be dealt with urgently. Our news center also spoke with the executive director of the human rights group.
Our intention as a Stand Up for Jamaica is to make some checks and to make sure that whoever is in prison exceeding his sentence is going to be released as quick as possible. It remains the problem of mentally ill, because mentally ill are not fit to plead, and therefore nobody is dealing with them.
Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.